Hello again, everybody. Warm welcome to our little Spanish special here. I'm on the island of Mallorca. I have to say to you, it's about 43 degrees here today. Gerry, what's it like where you are?
Probably about 13 degrees in Belfast. It's raining. It's been a poor day. Everybody's getting good weather except us.
Oh, mate. So listen, the last time we spoke was about 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the sort of the end, what we thought would be the end of La Liga season, and it actually did suffice that it was that particular week. It ended sort of one day early, apart from one of the relegation spots. We ended up with Real Madrid winning the league, of course, and then we ended up with Leganés, Real Mallorca, and Espanyol getting relegated. So we just want to sort of do a bit of a roundup, really, of everything of the Spanish La Liga. And if we get time today, we're going to talk about a little bit of La Liga 2, the teams that got promoted, and Segunda B, if we can fit that in as well. That will be good. So we might as well start off with the champions, Gerry. Worthy champions in the end, because they came back after the lockdown, were fantastic, weren't they?
Yeah, fantastic, and led really well by Sergio Ramos. What a leader he is at 35. He's so fit. I saw some of the photographs of him in training. He was doing bicycle kicks over the net and stuff, you know, and he really is focused. It's to do with mentality. He's got a strong mentality. He's a winner, and basically he led them from the back. But listen, credit as well to Karim Benzema. You know, he really put the ball in the back of the net, and they've had a lot of pluses. They're a much stronger squad for me than Barcelona. And I know Barcelona had Messi, but you can't rely on one player on his own. Certainly that was evident.
So they're going to come back and play Champions League, obviously, against Manchester City. Now, when they played Manchester City before the lockdown, obviously they pretty much got run off the park. But it's going to be a really interesting game, isn't it, this next one?
Certainly is, especially with the Spanish League finishing a little bit earlier than the Premier League. So, you know, Manchester City certainly are red-hot favourites to go to Manchester with a 2-1 lead against Real Madrid. It puts them in the driving seat. But listen, if Real Madrid could win 1-0 there, you know, obviously they're going to go through. So there's still a chance for them. And they will believe that, obviously, as a team that has won the Champions League 3 times in a row under Zidane. And I think it's going to be a cracking game. And I'm glad to say I'm going to be commentating on that for Virgin Media.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. That will be a fantastic game. I think the only thing that sort of I don't really get, Gareth Bale, it's a strange. I mean, his celebrations when they got the trophy, it just seems it's a little bit like, for me, it's a little bit like the Mesut Ozil situation at Arsenal. You know, he's on a lot of money. He's a great player on his day, but he doesn't seem to have those days that often, and the managers don't really seem to want to pick him.
I don't think he's fitting in. That's basically it. He is a class player. I think he's one of the best players. It's a shame he's not playing in a team that wants him or can utilise his skills and talents, and I don't want him sitting on the sidelines for the next year or two, not touching a ball and being brought on periodically, like to show 15 or 20 minutes of what he's worth. I think that's going to be a waste to his career, and he might regret that, but hopefully it'll be resolved. But I don't really see him with a future at Real Madrid as it stands.
So let's look at Barcelona. Well, I suppose on the plus side, you know, Messi did win the Golden Boot, 25 goals for Messi, quite a lot of assists in there as well. But it didn't really go that well with the new boss, Setien, did it?
No, I actually said a few months ago, I didn't think it was going to come back well. And he had ideas, but they weren't the same ideas as the Barcelona fans and certainly the board and Messi and co. And he had a couple of disastrous games where they drew games at Seville, and the 2-2 draw with Celta Vigo was a real nail in the coffin for me, because they were 2-1 up in that match. Yeah. And he made 2 changes, and the players actually confronted him in the dressing room and said, "Why'd you make the changes? We were 2-1 up. We were going okay, and you changed it and spoiled it." So, you know, you can see there was a lack of confidence there, and that does not bode well when players actually question the manager's decisions. Messi doesn't have a lot of power, and I'm not happy with what's going on at Barcelona at the moment. They're in turmoil. It's got to be a big summer for them. They need to make some really important signings and make sure they're the right signings. They've signed players in the past who haven't fitted in. You know, you only have to look at Antoine Griezmann and his situation, where he's been sitting on the bench for a lot of the games, and there's complaints coming from the family, his family and him, saying, "Well, I'm fit. I'm ready to go. I'm a World Cup winner with France, an international player, and yet I can't get into this very average, I would say, Barcelona side, who have a difficult game, in my opinion, against Napoli coming up.
Yeah. And also, sort of rumours, you know, if they're rumours, paper rumours or your sports channel rumours, but Messi has been sort of asking whether or not they could get hold of Bielsa from Leeds.
Yeah, I've been hearing that as well. Now, Leeds had a fantastic season, and I have to tell you, I'm a big Leeds fan from when I was a boy. I followed them from 7 years of age, so I'm really happy they went up. Bielsa's been sensational there, but he still doesn't speak English. You know, believe it or not, you look at the interviews at the end of the season, and he apologises for not being able to speak English, and they want him to stay. Obviously, they don't want to lose him. He is sensational, and what a coach! And you know, he was Pep Guardiola's mentor as well as a lot of other coaches he mentored. But you know, Messi knows of how good Bielsa is and thinks he would be a perfect fit in Barcelona, which he probably would. But it's whether Bielsa wants to do that, take that gamble, and there wouldn't be a problem with the language, obviously, going back to Spain and being the coach of Barcelona. But it's one to look into and debate.
Yeah, because, I mean, listen, if Barcelona come calling for you, you're going to be very unlikely to turn them down, aren't you?
Oh, totally. I mean, I had a conversation with Keith Gillespie about when he left Manchester United many years ago as part of the deal for Andy Cole. And he had to go to Newcastle. And he said, you know, he was behind Andre Konchesky at the time in the packing order. And he thought, well, you know, this is a great chance for me to play every week in the Premier League. And he was playing, obviously, with Les Ferdinand and David Ginola. So he took that opportunity. But 6 months after he left, Konchesky left, Manchester United was sold. And Alex Ferguson made a £4 or £5 million bid for him. And Keith wanted to come back to Manchester United. He said, when Alex Ferguson comes knocking on your door, you know, you listen. And he said, I spoke to Alex and I thought, yeah, I will come back. But Kevin Keegan and Newcastle wouldn't accept the bid. So he had to stay where he was. So those are the sort of things can happen in football, as you know, Richie.
Yeah. So let's move on to Atletico Madrid, a Champions League game against RB Leipzig. That's not going to be easy, although Werner has gone. He's gone to Chelsea, of course, and that's a bit of a loss for them, I think. But it's still not an easy game for Atletico Madrid, is it?
No, it's not. It's a tough game, and it's been a year of transition for them. They lost Griezmann, who was their top goal scorer and creator of most of their chances, and they haven't really replaced him. I feel that, well, again, 3 out of the back 4 were replaced as well. And there's another change that looks like it's happening there because Arias seems to have got the slotted right back and ahead of Kieran Trippier. So that's an interesting one that's developed over the last 5 or 6 weeks. So that team is still evolving, still a good team, but they're always looking to buy and sell, and it's who they buy next.
Now, there's a bit of manager merry-go-round, as there always is at the end of the season, particularly here in Spain. Unai Emery has gone to Villarreal.
Yeah, surprising that one as well. That Villarreal, good football inside, always play decent football. And Unai Emery, his stock has gone down in the last couple of years for me. As I sent you some details through earlier. I don't know if you got a chance to look at them, but his success in terms of wins and draws is not particularly good. You know, so I worry about that one for Villarreal.
Yeah, and a similar story at Valencia with Javi Garcia. I mean, I looked at his numbers, actually, and his La Liga record, he's played 111, won 36, drawn 29, and lost 46. So, you know, and obviously he failed pretty much at Watford as well. Well, most managers don't get too long with Watford, let's face it. But you know, Valencia, and also they just accepted a bid from Manchester City for Ferran Torres. Don't know if you know too much about him. The winger.
Yeah, no, Ferran Torres, he's a wide player, and I saw Manchester United were chasing him 18 months ago, and he's a good player. I think he's a Premier League player because he's got a bit of technique and skill, but he's also got the endeavour, which I think is important to play in the Premier League. I don't know if you know about the big Dutch centre half from Bournemouth as well. Looks like an offer of 40 million has been accepted for him from Akon, and that's at Manchester City. They're looking Aki, and he's looking to go there. That's a big move. Obviously, that's happened because of Bournemouth's demise and dropping into the Championship, which is always a problem when players who want to keep their stature high, they want to stay in top flight football.
I'm looking at Real Sociedad, who had a great season, qualified for Europa League. They say that they're confident that Odegaard, who's been sort of one of these players that you're wanting to push on, and he's been on loan at different places. He's never really pushed it, and he obviously hasn't played that much for Real Madrid. But they reckon the loan will be extended into next season.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. I've heard that, and he's a good player, but again, it doesn't matter whether you're 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever it is. You got to be playing football. You're never going to improve if you're sitting on the bench. And I would say that to a lot of players. That's one of the reasons I left Spurs to go to Watford, because I wanted to get more football. And on top of that, Keith Bergenshaw wanted to play me as a centre-half instead of a centre-forward, which I didn't fancy at all, to be honest, mate. But, those are the things that happen. So I wish him well. But I see Take Kubo. Looks like he's definitely left Mallorca, but he could be going to Osasuna. I heard he's going to Osasuna.
Yeah, it seems to be the club that's going to get him. I mean, obviously, most clubs in La Liga want him because obviously of what he did at Mallorca is probably one of Mallorca's best players of the season. But it looks like they're in pole position to sign him. Yeah,
that's an interesting one. But again, see, Take Kubo is looking to play football. He wants to play every week, and it doesn't matter whether it's in a lower club in the top flight. It's still top flight football, and he'll improve obviously better than playing in the reserves or the stiffs for me. And I totally agree with that decision. But a lot of clubs are using the same tactics. It's not just them. Getafe, I'm looking forward to it. I've got that game as well, believe it or not. I'm doing the Getafe game, and looking forward to it because they've never played Italian opposition before. And they've only qualified for the quarterfinals of the Europa League once before, several years ago. And I'm looking forward to that because they've had a really good season, Richie. And I'd love to see them go a little bit further, but it's going to be a tough one.
I was looking at Atletico Bilbao, and obviously, if you don't know about Atletico Bilbao, they only can play Basque players. That's the rules they've had since they started. And I was looking at them and thinking about Kepa because obviously, it looks like Chelsea aren't going to carry on with him. It looks like Willy Caballero is going to play in goal at the FA Cup final for Chelsea after his Kepa's performance against Liverpool. They were lost 5-3. So you're looking at Chelsea paid 72 million, I think it was, for him. Where is he going to go? Of all the top sides that are around, where's he going to go? And you don't see him going to. Well, if he's coming back to Spain, he's not going to the top 4, I don't think, because I think the top 3 could afford him. Sevilla probably couldn't. So where's he going to go? And he could actually get back to Atletico Bilbao.
That's what I'm being told. I'm told he's heading back to Spain. And I'm like you, I've tried to work it out. And I'm hearing he's going to go back. So have they got a good offer, obviously, at Bilbao to get rid of their goalkeeper and bring back someone who they have a lot of faith and trust in? So, and maybe it's him coming home and finding his form again. I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper. I don't think he was the top goalkeeper in the world when they signed him. There was a lot of better goalkeepers for me than him. But certainly he needs to get back on track and find his form again. He's been well out of form. So a move back to Spain seems imminent.
Yeah. Let's talk about Real Betis. Manuel Pellegrini going to Betis. Another club that seems to sort of hire and fire managers quite quickly.
Yeah, well, he's going back, and there's talk about, obviously, what's happening with Dani Cevallos as well, who's at Euro Club, Arsenal, and I hear that, he's done well for me at Arsenal. He's a quality player, always has been, but they love him because he came through the academy at Real Betis, and it looks like he's heading back there. But is he going to stay at Betis, or is he going to be sold? I don't know. I mean, Real Madrid, obviously, are the club that own him, but where does he go?
I've heard that they're going to do another loan deal for a year for him because they haven't really got a lot of money, and if they're going to fork out money, I think they're going to fork out for a player that they really, really want, and if they get him on loan, then obviously that sort of saves that money for somebody else. So I've heard that the deal nearly is done for the loan for another year, which I think is a good sign. You're right; he's probably been the standout player for them in the last sort of 10 games since the lockdown, definitely. Yeah. What about a team like Eibar, for instance, or Eibar, however you want to pronounce it?
Eibar,
still surviving. The ground holds just over 8,000 people. It's a tiny ground, but they seem to be able to, sort of gather that momentum together, particularly towards the end of the season. They looked like they were going to, go down, and then all of a sudden they started to win games towards the end. It's tremendous. I mean,
I was hoping they were going to go down because I was hoping that Mallorca would overhaul them and go up. That was one of the things. But they're a Basque team, and the Basque teams have got this resolve. You talked about Athletic Bilbao, only signing players from the Basque region, which they've done. And yet they're one of 3 clubs never relegated from La Liga. And Eibar have got that attitude, a determination, a resilience, whatever you want to call it. They just dig in and they get results, whether it's draws or wins away from home. They performed brilliant in the last 3 or 4 games to get some big results to get them out of trouble. And I love to see that sort of a story. I love to see smaller clubs coming through and developing. You know, you remember the Wimbledons and how they started, and the Wycombe Wanderers and how they started, and all of those clubs who have progressed on into, you know, better leagues every year in the UK. And it's the same in Spain. I'm watching all these young clubs. There's one club has been promoted, and I think they're the smallest audience. I think it's a 1,200 people capacity.
It's they're a team called at Zenita UE. They're going to be playing.
Never heard of them before.
No, me neither. Playing or managed by former Valencia player David Albelda.
Albelda, yeah.
And they got promoted to Segunda B, which is the regional leagues here. And they are the team with the smallest population. They have 1,271 people in there. With that amount, you call it a town or is it a village? I mean, you know. And they're, as I say, the smallest team to ever play in that level of Spanish football.
Yeah, little acorns grow big. You know, I remember doing a similar story 20 years ago, and it was Villarreal, and they were obviously the team that had the ceramics factory, and they were producing, playing great football. But I think the town only holds like 30,000 people. And it seemed as if 75% of the population was at every game, every week. And they just got better and better. And they ended up going to the semi-final and losing against Arsenal. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And the penalty miss as well. I
penalty
remember
miss,
all this. And I loved the fact that they were a small club who had just come through and against all the odds. And it seems to be happening more and more, and I think it's good for football, certainly for me.
Let's talk about the 3 relegated teams, Leganés, Real Mallorca and Espanyol. Obviously, our affiliation is with Real Mallorca. Just, you know, really at the end, just weren't good enough. Had the worst defensive record in the league, which wasn't great. They conceded about 65 goals. And at the other end, couldn't put the ball in the net, really. I mean, on Budimir, you did all right, scored 13 goals in the season, which wasn't too bad, really. And there is talk right now, well, they are definitely talking right now, between Real Mallorca and Espanyol. Espanyol want to take Vicente Moreno, the manager, but there's a bit of a battle going on. It's a sort of standoff right now between Mallorca. He has a contract till 2022. Espanyol want him, but don't want to pay the 1 million release clause that he has in his contract. I think they've offered $500,000, and Mallorca have ummed and ahed at the moment, haven't said yes. He's stated that he wants to go, although not publicly. It's a bit strange, the situation. And while this all happens, of course, the season the time for the season to start is coming upon us. The Liga 2 starts in September 12th is the Liga 2. So, you know, it might give other clubs a head start on getting in the players they want. It's not great.
No, absolutely. And I completely agree. But I'm going to ask the question now, why would he want to go from one team that was relegated to another team that was relegated when he knows what he's got? Do they have more money in the kitty in Espanyol? Is it a bigger club in that sense that he feels that he can get more out of those players? So there must be something in his mindset that makes him want to go in the first place, or is it just a straightforward more money from as a contract?
You would imagine it's probably more money because he signed a contract till 2022. Obviously, there was a bit of a fallout with the club on the players that they were getting into La Liga. Obviously, their budget was very small, smallest budget of all the teams in La Liga last year, which obviously was a hindrance to them as well. It might have been that. And, you know, it's a shame because he had such a good relationship with the fans, you know, because of obviously what he'd done, bringing them up from Segunda B into La Liga. And you thought that he was probably the right man to give it another go.
Richie, you know, you and I both know that I can't believe we actually went up when we went up. After going down 2 leagues, to come back up 2 leagues straight after that, you know, that was sensational, in my opinion, and probably too soon. And a lot of the players he had were not Premier League players. Probably most of them were Segunda and Segunda B players. Right. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why. But, you know, they still managed to beat Real Madrid. at home. That was the first defeat for Real Madrid, and I was so shocked that day. But that's the sort of thing. But if you can get that consistency through the players and get the belief, you can pull off surprises. And I was hoping Mallorca would stay up, but my gut feeling told me they weren't good enough.
No, that's true. And I think, well, let's see next season. I mean, I look at a team like Huesca, who have been promoted this year. Huesca went down with the same number of points. And funny enough, the same number of goals conceded that Mallorca did when they were in La Liga 2 seasons ago, and have managed to get themselves promoted as champions this year. So, obviously there is a bit of a parachute payment like there is in the Premier League for the teams that come down. So that Mallorca will have a bit more money than other teams. So there is, it's down to recruitment now. And this is the thing, right now, you want to get the right players in, but if the managers, you're not sure what's happening to the manager, it's going to cause a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these clubs. Do you remember Pepe Bonet when he was at Mallorca and the players he used to bring through? It's to do with the technical director who's in charge and who brings these players through. I remember the players Mallorca recruited 15, 20 years ago, and there was a conveyor belt of players coming from the second division B and from the second division, and Mallorca seemed to pick them and bring them through and then develop those players into better players. As the club grew, the players grew and their value grew. So that's the perfect scenario in terms of having the right director. Barcelona's had a complete disaster. We talked about it earlier. A lot of clubs do by picking the wrong person to take charge of the purse strings and who they're going to buy.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at the teams going up then, we've got Huesca, Cadiz, and the other problem they've got in Segunda right now is this game that should have happened a couple of weeks ago, which was Fuenlabrada against Deportivo. Now, Deportivo, how the results went on the last day of the season meant that Deportivo can't stay up, whatever happened in their game anyway. This game got cancelled because Fuenlabrada had 6 players infected by COVID-19. It actually happened in the end. It got up to 20 of the playing, not just the playing staff, but all the staff. So obviously it was quite a serious thing. Deportivo were relegated, and then Javier Tebas, the guy from who runs La Liga, tweeted out that he wants to say thanks to Fuenlabrada for stepping aside for allowing Elche to play Real Zaragoza in the playoff. And then all of a sudden, Fuenlabrada came out and said, well, they haven't actually agreed to step aside. They'd love to play the last game of the season against Deportivo in order that they can get into the playoffs instead of Elche. So it's all a bit of a mess right now.
It's time out, isn't it? It's one of those. It's like it's an impasse, and they're going to have to resolve that. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to do the playoffs. It's a crazy situation. But this is Spanish football, mate. Anything goes, and we've seen it all in the past. It's a crazy scenario. It really is. But I don't know how they're going to resolve it, to be honest.
No, I mean, obviously, Fuenlabrada want to play, and if they win, they will play in the playoffs. Obviously, down to the recovery of the people, because I imagine they have to go into some sort of quarantine. 2 weeks is the norm, isn't it, to get recovered and everything else, and then play. So it means that Girona and Almeria still don't know what they're doing because they've called off that game as well right now. That's the other playoff game. And then it's Zaragoza against either Elche or Fuenlabrada. And then the winners of those 2 games will then play each other for the team to go up, a bit like Mallorca did with Deportivo last year. So, it's all a bit of a mess, and it doesn't seem to be getting any clearer on how it's going to be sorted out.
Do you remember last year we discussed the clubs that had went up, including the Mallorca's fantastic victory over Deportivo, which was really unexpected. And I actually said at the time we were going to struggle, and we did. And I feel exactly the same about Cadiz and Huesca. Unless they sign or they find money to sign better quality players and improve the strength of their squad, they're going to struggle. They're going to be in the bottom 5 or 6 for most of the season. And then there's every chance they'll go straight back down again. And that's the key for me. It's not just having the right manager in charge, having the right amount of money that you can buy the right players to give yourself a chance. Mallorca, I don't think really had a chance last year. Not with the amount of money they had to spend and the quality of players they had. And I'm seeing exactly the same with Cadiz and Huesca. Deportivo is a much bigger club who, a Super Depor from years ago, I loved watching them. The Mara Silvas and the Roy Mackays. I mean, what a team of players they had. And Nuruddin Naybag at the back. And, it was just great to watch them every week. And they've fallen in harder times. But without the income and the finance, it's going to be another difficult season, even if they do go up.
Well, Depor now down to Segunda B. Obviously, they've been relegated again. So you know that's really. I mean, we know from Mallorca, it's tough to get out of Segunda B. Let's move that on from Segunda B. Let's just talk about the teams that have actually got themselves promoted from Segunda B up into La Liga 2. They are.
What about our team, Atletico Baleares? They blew it in the first game, got beaten 1-0 at home. I couldn't believe that.
Listen, it was just. I saw Baleares play Udi Ibiza on the final game before lockdown, and Ibiza won 2-0. And I thought, ooh, they look a good side. You know, it's going to be tough for Baleares to finish top. And obviously, the lockdown came, and they decided that they would be the team that would finish top and wouldn't go like most teams would get promoted. They have to go into playoffs as well, regardless if you finish top as well. They lost their playoff game on penalties, unfortunately, and then went down into the next round of playoffs and lost that game as well. It's like, oh, come on. So, yes, unfortunately, the manager's now left. Mannix, his name escapes me now. He's gone anyway, the manager. Obviously, the squad is going to rotate itself. The two boys, the Shishoa boys, one of the boys from Tottenham and the other, his brother, who was at Tottenham and now was at Tenerife, came out on loan. He's gone back again. So I think it's going to be a big change around at Atletico Baleares, which is important. Udi Ibiza, I thought were a good team, actually. But, let's see what they can do. And then Peña Deportiva, another team from Ibiza, who are quite a small team, actually got further than all of those the other teams put together. They got knocked out in the semi-finals of the playoffs, which is unfortunate for them. So the teams that did go up this year were Logroñés, Cartagena, Sabadell and Castellón. They're the four teams that have gone up into La Liga 2.
Yeah, and I remember playing against Sabadell when I was at Mallorca in 1983-84 season, and they were a big club then in the Barcelona region, but they've fallen on hard times, and it's good to see them obviously having a bit of success.
Yeah. So, Gerry, you are very busy coming up now. You've got Champions League, got Europa League. You're doing, did you say, 9 games in 10 days? Or
9 games in 10 days. I've got all great games as well. UEFA Cup and obviously Champions League. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'll have more games when it gets into the quarter and semi-final stages after that and right through to the final. But then September brings international football. And Northern Ireland's got a couple of games to play. And then the playoffs in October. Northern Ireland has Bosnia and Herzegovina home and away, hopefully. And if they can win in Bosnia and Herzegovina, they would play the winners of the Republic of Ireland's game in Belfast at Windsor Park. So, there's a lot to play for. There's 6 or 7 big international games coming up in September, October, November. And I'm looking forward to them because there's a new manager in charge. Michael O'Neill has left. He's the full-time manager now of Stoke City, and he did really well with them to keep them up. They had a bit of a difficult period, and he caught the COVID himself on the lockdown and came back, and he was a little bit slow to get going, but they had some great results in the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And the new manager is a guy called Ian Barraclough, who was the under-21 manager for Michael O'Neill for Northern Ireland, and he's been appointed for the next 18 months as manager. So there's a lot of changes going on over here. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but the semi-final of the Irish Cup was played on Sunday and Monday, and Ballymena beat Coleraine on penalties in the first semi-final, and then Glentoran beat Cliftonville on penalties. 7-6 it went to in penalties in the second semi-final. And that game is going to be played on Friday night, tomorrow night, and it's going to be an audience. It's going to be the first football audience. Not a full capacity, but 25%. So there's going to be 4.5. Yeah, everybody's interested in it because it's 4,500 people will be at the game at Windsor Park on Friday night. And I think it's going to be a benchmark to see how they can produce or how they can progress forward for future games for the next couple of months.
Gerry, always good to talk to you. We'll, I imagine, get back together again sometime during August for a bit of a preview of what's coming up in La Liga here in Spain and Segunda, of course, where our team Mallorca are playing. So in the meantime, take care. We'll listen out for your dulcet tones on those games in Europe, and we'll speak soon.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to get over and see you maybe in Mallorca in the next 4 or 5 weeks. But listen, everything's all on hold. We wait and see what happens, Richie. But I'd love to see you.
Well, hopefully we'll do the next one together then.
That's it. That would be even better.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, pal.
All the best. Bye-bye.